Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have a legend back on the program. It's Laura Stiles Rosenberg. I am Ebro, and this is E.
Hi, y'all. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Who's That Girl? The new book.
Yes.
Out everywhere. Go pick it up. A memoir.
Yes, a memoir.
I've only just got it today.
Yeah.
So I didn't get through all of it. But I have to say, I definitely jumped to the back to Ruff Ryder days.
Yes.
But I really enjoyed kind of the setup of the book of talking about who you were as a young girl, who was in your house, living in I think it was Mill Creek houses,
Mill Creek,
and in West Philly, right?
Yeah, West Philly,
and just kind of because as I got to know, I've known you for years in the game, seeing that because I didn't know that, kind of now really shapes this amazing person that we've all gotten to know and love. So I think you did a great job articulating that.
Shout out to Kathy.
Yes.
Kathy Iamberly who wrote this.
Yes. She's like my co-writer because we wrote it together.
So sorry.
Don't get it messed up, boo. I had.
So what does that look like though? Honestly, I'm always confused.
So I didn't know what that was going to be like either, but I was fully involved in every single process. It basically was me doing like a brain dump. We would have writing sessions.
How long would those be, for example?
It depends. Sometimes it could be, in the beginning, I think I shut down a lot, so not very long. And then she kind of had a conversation with me about not making it like an interview and fully being involved and open. And then the sessions got longer. Like it would be like an hour and a half to like 2.5 hours to like 3 hours to like, and then she would be like, okay, because we would record it and all that, and it would go into a file, and then we would go in together and kind of pull things, take things, or she'd be like, okay, let me go do this and see how you feel. If you don't, like it was us back and forth. It was playing tennis back and forth. It was amazing. And to be honest, I think if I would not have been able to write this by myself because it would take 5 years. Because I would be analyzing, editing, and criticizing while trying to figure things out. So yeah, and I couldn't imagine doing this book with nobody else. She's just the shit.
So I was going to ask you about that because Kathy happens to be a friend of mine, and which I adore, and I know her.
Yes,
how incredible she is. But what about you? What was it about her that made you just really trust her? Because this is such a personal project.
We hit it off immediately. We were talking about a whole other situation when we met. And she was just like, and we just literally hit it off. Same sense of humor about a lot of things. We think a lot about a lot of things. And I felt like she would be able to capture my voice, because another thing about doing this book was one of my friends said to me, like, I hope we get your personality, not like your, this is what you show the world. Like I want to read what I know of you. And I just felt like Kathy was able to capture that. Yeah, I love that.
One thing that jumped out to me in just reading about your childhood was how many people were in the house when you were growing up.
Yes.
And it was like grandma, grandpa, mom, uncles, and siblings.
Aunt, a cousin, a dog.
Right. Well, and then you say in here that you asked your mom to have another child, which then became your little brother.
My little brother,
which you
Shout
would drop off at daycare and pick up from school every day.
Yeah.
And so then it made me think about your current living condition where you got married to fell in love, and he already had how many children?
4 kids.
4 kids, and then you recently just
now
had your own kids. So now you're
Yes.
basically in a house
full of people. Okay, it's loud in the house. It's loud, and 3 of the oldest ones just moved back home. So like they were in and out, but now that one of them has graduated university, the other one is going to university, and the other one just moved back from Barcelona. So they're it's a lot.
How often does like something happen where kids in your current house are complaining and you remind them of how many people were in yours and how different your house situation was when you were a kid?
It's so different. But even for my husband, like we both, for their reality of life, obviously mine is so far removed, so far removed. But even for my husband, like, he didn't grow up with money. He's like self-made, all of that. So we do tell them like, are you serious, right? How many towels do you need? Like, how long? Like, we do. We remind them, and I definitely do, especially now that they've been closer in the house. They definitely have gotten the Philly me. 100%.
Is that challenging? I always wonder about people who have kids who grow up very well off.
Yeah.
What you do, to be blunt, and I say this to my friends who are doing well, I'm like, what are you going to do to make sure your kid doesn't become a douchebag?
No,
it's work.
No, I think about that too, because listen, we all do what we do to make better for our kids because that's what we're supposed to do, right? But like, you do have to be careful. You do have to be careful. And I think about this for my son. Like, first of all, I'm a smother mother. He's going to be so spoiled. On top of the life that he is living and we live and that we built or whatever. Yeah, no, it's important. I do not want him to be an asshole. I don't want him to be entitled. And he also has to know what my roots are, where I come from. That's very important for me. Yeah.
Well, the projects you grew up in aren't even there anymore.
No,
right?
they're not there. I went there 3-4 years ago, something like that. I rode through there and tried to find the building that I lived in, and I couldn't really figure it out. But my school, I saw my old like elementary school. Yeah, it's crazy to see now. Definitely.
Yeah, it's changed.
Yeah,
Changed a lot.
yeah, definitely.
Do you you know, a lot has been made. Obviously, the book came out. I'm seeing headlines. You know, Jay-Z called Eve, which you talk about in the beginning of the book.
Yeah.
And the way it's framed is if almost like Jay-Z was discouraging you.
No,
or
it's not
whatever.
framed like that. Please
well,
don't say that.
Not in the book. Not in the book, and that's where I was trying to go.
Okay, thank you.
The headlines are framing it like Jay was discouraging you or hating or something like that. But clearly in the book, you're like, no, it was a challenge.
Thank you so much. Yes, I was please, Les, please, because I'm like, what the. But I also know, obviously it's Jay. I knew somebody was going to try that completely. If you read the chapter, it is so not like that. No. And I didn't think in that moment that man was trying to discourage me.
He was letting you know what the challenges
were. What the situation was, what the reality was, what the challenges were at that time in history, 100%. And for me, I took it as, okay, I hear you, but also, let me see.
Right.
For me. What it did for me. So I'm so happy you said that. Thank you.
Well, because I saw the headline.
Yeah.
It was like,
I got a phone call.
Right. And then I read the book and was like, yeah, that's not how this is worded.
No, and I wanted to make sure I was like, nah, man, when I'm out here talking about it, like Jay is always been the biggest supporter of who he supports. Like, you know, so yeah, nah, it was nothing like that. And it's such a small piece of a chapter.
No, it's one line. It's one sentence, I think.
It's one sentence.
It's one sentence.
Oh my God, thank you.
And people can't even spend the time to read the one sentence?
Well, no, I think they're using it as clickbait.
Yes, exactly. 100%.
It's a thing that you can flip.
100%.
Well, but in there, you do, after that, and you make mention, you do talk about getting a lot of support from men because of your rhyming skill.
Absolutely.
But you do say that they didn't want you for anything, like they didn't want you chiming in on anything else about business or any of these other things. It was like, yo, just rap.
Yeah, so basically, with Ruff Ryders, that wasn't the case. Shout out to DNY, who I've seen, like I saw D yesterday, and Scarlett came to see me, so shout out to Scarlett. And Wah, love Wah. But with them, it wasn't like that. With them, they celebrated me. With them, they tried to make me the best I could be. It was in the boardrooms. It was the execs. It was like when I went into the bigger rooms at Interscope, where I was very discouraged about like, oh, you don't want to write on this beat? Well, you should try. Or, oh, you got a boy. Even to the point where if I was in a relationship, be like, you shouldn't be in a relationship because that like messes up your concentration. I'm like, do you talk to these dudes this way?
Messes up your concentration.
Yes, it messes up. I had so many crazy conversations in boardrooms. And to the point they started calling me the queen of the queen of next. I think I say that in the book because I used to be like on purpose, just like, nah, I don't like that beat. Nah, I don't like that beat.
But your whole life too, you even talk about skipping school. If mom wouldn't let you go to the performing arts school, you was like, look, if I don't get to go to the school I want to go to, I ain't going to school.
Yeah.
Like straight, she wanted to go to in the book she talks about, I wanted to go to school to Boys to Men
school.
Yeah,
Boys to Men went to the performing arts. I wanted to go to performing arts.
Right. But you were always kind of a strong-willed, finding your own path person. From starting your first group to studying Islam to everything, literally the whole path.
Yeah, I am a trier. I'm Bart. I always say I'm Bart Simpson because I will touch the fire just to see if it's hot. But I'm very curious. I always have been. It's funny. I went to the school I had to go to legally, but I didn't graduate because I failed gym. And I know it's so bad. But the school was crazy. So I adapted to what it was. I did enough that I needed to do, but I also made sure I was at the studio and did that. You know what I'm saying? Because that was my focus. That was my main focus.
So how do you end up in the strip club? Because I'm just to that chapter. Yeah. How does that take place?
And this was a chapter that I was like, do I put this in again? Because I've talked about this many times in my life. And I've also seen headlines where people are like, oh, she was a stripper and now blah, blah. It's like, bro, I was 17. It was 2 months and I wasn't that good. Also.
Well, the chapter is the laziest stripper in the club.
Literally, because my focus still was hip hop. So I would walk around and rap. And literally be like, yo, if you, like guys be like, can I get a lap dance?
You are the worst stripper already.
Oh, I'm the worst. What are you talking about?
Can
Sorry.
you imagine, bro? You should,
listen.
Let me spit these bars for you.
Let me spit these bars because I'm focused.
That's sexy.
I'm focused, all right? I'm focused. So I literally was doing that, like, because, and the owner hated me because I changed my name. Like, it's all in the book. But the biggest pivotal moment about that, and what annoys me about that, is that people are, not all people, but lots of headlines are so fixated on, oh, she was a stripper. The pivotal moment was a conversation I had with Mace.
Right.
That's the pivotal moment of my life. That conversation, because I was already having these thoughts of why am I here? There were girls in there that had 3-4 kids that was going to school that needed to be there. I was 17. My mother wasn't kicking me out of the house. And he said to me, like, what do you want to do with your life? I mean, although somebody teased me yesterday, I don't know where it was, but they was like, yeah, all dudes have that kind of conversation when they're trying to, like, soften you up. Like, what you trying to do, shorty? What you trying to do?
Shorty,
and you
what
were
you
like,
really trying to do?
I'm
like, well, no, but it went on from there to that night. He rode around with me the whole night, and we rapped the whole night.
And
literally, he listened to my music, and my girls was with me, like all of that. And I never saw him again. We went to sleep that night at his sister's house. I woke up that morning, I didn't see him for years. I quit that next day and was like, I gotta focus.
Right.
Did he remember when you eventually saw him again?
Oh yeah. He actually pulled me to the side. Like the next time he saw me, it was in front of, it was, well, because it's in the book.
People were there.
It was in the book. But it was not a bad place. It's just a place I feel like I shouldn't say at the moment.
Got it.
Yeah. Due to you know what I mean? But anyway, he pulled me to the side and was like, yo, what you doing up here? Like really concerned. Like, what are you doing here? Like, and I was like, yo, I'm signed to Ruff Ryders. And from that time, when I did my first album, he was in and out of the studio just coming to hang out, just coming to listen. So like literally like a supporter from the beginning. And for me, you know, in life, messages come from very weird, if you're open.
Right.
And I think he was my messenger.
I think about you a lot because we live in this time where, and this is a touchy conversation, but I do feel like in hip hop, and God, it feels so trite even bringing this up, but it has to.
Yeah.
It feels like women are forced to choose a box of like either I'm going to be all the way Rhapsody and everything's, and by the way, she's brilliant. She dropped her best body of work just recently. But that's hard. Not everybody can be Rhapsody. Yeah. Or I'm just going to twerk absolutely nonstop. That is all there is to the show. And you are one of the shining examples of you were able to do everything. Like you had it all. Does it ever frustrate you to like look around and be like, why aren't more people trying, or why doesn't the industry encourage, or why aren't people interested in seeing women have diverse personalities?
I think, you know, yes, to a certain extent, it frustrates me. I have a lot of feelings about this. I'm happy that there are more women in the landscape, period. That's one, on the positive note, right? Are we over-sexualized? Yes, 100%. So yes, that can get frustrating. But ultimately, at the end of the day, there is no judgment from me as to who you want to be as an artist. I do understand that it's hard out here when you are trying to do a certain thing, and there might be people pressure or there might be personal pressure. So there's no judgment.
Likes pressure? The Instagram likes pressure?
So there's no judgment in that way. Do I wish... Yes, there was more of a balance, but then again, it goes back to who the crew I came from. I was very lucky to be with Ruff Ryders because they really, really, you know, allowed me to be the artist that I wanted to be without trying to make me anything else. And I do think that helped me to do all that different stuff.
And they helped you craft the music too, right? Because you had the poems and the writing. You had that.
Yeah.
They helped you craft the sound and
yes,
get you the
also
records.
I was a battle rapper. I didn't know how to make a song. I didn't know what bars like that way was. Like, okay, you do this 8 and make this hook, like all of that. It was, and that's why I always say it was hip hop boot camp for me. Like, yeah.
I just love that you talk about having such a positive experience, because I don't think that people really do realize the climate of being a female in rap at the time. Yeah. And everyone has all these dark stories that eventually come out, as we all know. But you're always making sure that they are celebrated, because you are 100% truly supported.
Because I did have, I had moments with certain men in the industry with discouragement and things like that, but never from them. And I always want to make that clear. Never from them. It was actually more as I started to separate from them, I think. When I had to be in those rooms more myself, because in the beginning, nobody was saying no to them anyway. Like, if they coming in the room, we get what we want. So when my career kind of started to veer off and go into other things, and I was doing like more acting or more fashion, that kind of stuff, I was kind of alone a lot of the time. So in that time, I think is when it happened more.
Did you feel physically protected also in terms of
yes,
predatory?
I was the most physically. Nobody was messing with me, bro. Like, because of them. Like, I was the most protected. Nobody.
So you almost can't even fully identify with someone else's experience who didn't have protection. You know what I mean? Because you weren't at video shoots where people could be gross with you.
No, they could not. Like, it was not happening. It was not happening.
Well, and also too, like, I mean, you referenced it in the book, and it has nothing to do with what's going on in news today.
Yeah.
But all of us who have been around this game have heard rumors and stories.
And I've seen lots of things.
Right, and you've seen lots of things.
Yeah.
But did being from the streets of Philly help you be like, it's time to go?
100%.
Like, it's getting late. People acting funny. Yep. I'm out.
No, 100%. I always had that, like, okay, like, I don't care how late it is, but if it's getting weird, I'm gone. Like, I don't want to see too much. Like, yes, 100%. And there have been times where I've even been pulled up because people been like, yo, little sis, it's time to go. And I'd be like, I'm out. You ain't got to tell me twice. That's like, right. Literally, I'm actually very thankful for that.
It's a self-preservation tactic.
Oh, yeah.
You have a chapter that I haven't read yet, but I just saw called Things Fall Apart.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that gets into the roots of it all.
Yeah.
How big in your story is You Got Me?
The song?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny, actually. Shout out to Questlove. I just did his podcast. It was the first time we ever had a conversation ever. I've known him since I was 14, 15. Besides, like, what's up? Literally, it was one of the best conversations. And we talk about You Got Me because I was over it. I wasn't. It was a big deal. I was on that record and I did not get credited on that record. And I didn't get an invite to the video shoot. Although somebody did send me an address. It was the wrong damn address.
No.
Yes,
That's even worse. That's worse than no address at all.
I didn't get, my name's not on there. But at the time, it was such a weird time. And we talk about, and I'm so happy we had this conversation. At that time, there was so much going on with them as a group. They were rising so much. At that time, no one knew me. I was Eve, the girl from Philly with the blonde hair that rapped, like, that used to hang out in the studio. Let's put her on the record.
So this is just timeline wise, because it's confusing.
Crazy.
It's a year before.
It's like a year before.
It was like the first time we heard Eve.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to remember. So that's the first time.
Literally.
And then What You Want is like a year later or something like that?
Yes. So it all was like, when I did that record, I had no label, nothing. Then I had a label all of a sudden. But it was like, nobody still know her.
Yeah.
How did Questo explain that they didn't credit you?
He said that at that time, so much was going on. He didn't even know I was on the record because the way that they were mixing the records was like, he was there, they was there, something was going on. He heard that I was on this record and he was like, wait, who? Because ultimately, I was just the girl that used to hang out in the studio. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, and then he was like, oh, okay, cool. She's on the record. But then, again, you have to understand, too, Jill Scott was on that record. Right. And then they put Erykah Badu because Erykah Badu was bigger. It was just, I think it was just the nature of being in the business and rising and shit was happening. And now you got to get people on there that is popping, that people know because that's what you do, right?
Well, and then when it gets cleared to go out, if you don't have a lawyer, they don't have to clear it.
They don't have to call you. They ain't got to. Yeah. So,
yeah.
But what he says is that it was just his communication was off at that time, and I will take it. He is my brother.
And it all worked out. I mean, in the end, it all worked out.
Oh, it all worked out. Yeah, they should have put me on that. Look at me still. I'm over it. I'm over it.
And you were so over it, I can tell.
Yeah, but at that time, I remember having the record and literally asking the label who it was.
I remember that too.
And they told us who it was. It was this girl Eve from Philly. Like,
did they?
Yeah, they told us.
Because everybody thought it was Erykah Badu. People would be like,
no,
I
that wasn't Eric
No. Bro, that was confusion. I know that was.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so us, just as DJs, we like, yo, who the girl rapping on the record? That Verzuz fire. And, representatives were like, oh, this girl E from Philly. They knew.
No, okay.
But it is crazy when you think about it because it was the biggest moment of their career also.
Yeah.
So, you played an integral part in the Roots scoring. To this day, it's their biggest hit.
Probably,
You know what I mean? That's... So I'm glad you guys talked through.
And they won a Grammy.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
I did not get a Grammy.
Wait, and you didn't get a Grammy either?
No, because she's not credited.
Because I'm not. No, I'm kidding. I'm over
so
it.
Over it. You are so
over it.
You're so over
How you really feel? How you really feel? Talk to them.
No, I'm glad y'all worked it out.
Can I tell you, I'm so happy we had that conversation. He's the dopest.
They really all are.
love all of them.
They're the best.
Yeah. Black Thought is everything. They are all, I love them. I used to go to their shows when I was 13, 14. I have been I'm an OG Roots fan. I love them. Yeah.
So I want to talk about Love is Blind.
Yes.
Because I remember when that record dropped, and it was such an important time because nobody was talking about things like domestic violence. And I just remember it opened up the conversation. I mean, we were young, but it happened at home. It was happening. And it was really something that I remember me and my girls talking about it and opening up really, really healing moments. What made you want to write that record?
Yeah, it was a poem I wrote first when I was 16. It was the two first verses are a poem because my friend at the time, who was 17, was in a relationship with a guy and he used to beat her and she got pregnant. And I was the first person at the hospital. He never even came to the hospital at all. So it was a poem out of that. And then when I heard the beat for Love is Blind, I was like, this is perfect. I actually, even not to this day, but at that time I was like, oh, I was surprised that they let me do that record at that time because like you said, nothing was happening like that. But Ruff, they went into it. DNY was into it. And then I wrote the last verse, obviously, where I kill him just to kind of bring it home, whatever. But yeah, they were into it. And it was an important I didn't realize how important that record was at all because it was my personal experience until I did it and when I would perform it. And girls would come up to me, would come up to me, and I was like, wow. That song is the first time I realized that your words and your music can really touch people and really mean something. That was the first one. Definitely. Yeah.
How much did Let Me Blow Your Mind change things for you? Was that super impactful?
Definitely. I mean, I brought Gwen into my world and she definitely brought me into her world, like that top 40 whole life kind of thing. But then vice versa, we showed up at the BET Awards together on red carpet. People was like, wow, all right. It definitely changed a lot.
So she was also very aware of how helpful that record was for her.
100%. Definitely. We both 100%. We both realized what it did for both of us because I personally think, and this, I don't know, we've never talked about this, but I wonder if her and Pharrell would have had those.
I literally was, my next sentence was, Holla Back Girl doesn't happen if Let Me Blow Your Mind doesn't happen.
And I wonder if she would have had the courage to even try that, to be honest, if not being exposed to that world, and people embracing her as well, though, because people did embrace her on our side. Hip hop, they actually was hey.
Y'all are still friends too, right?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. She's good people. She honestly is. We don't talk all the time or whatever, but I got to perform with her last year in London. She called me and was like, I'm doing this show at this festival. It was 20 minutes from my house. I was like, all right, I'll be over.
I'll do it. I'll be over. My mind was blown. I was such a No Doubt fan.
Oh,
but I was a hip hop head, so I was like, oh my God, my two worlds coming
together. But that's how I felt when I suggested that she be on the record because I obviously have talked about this before, but people was fighting me on that. That she was literally the only person I heard. And they were like, really? How is that going to work? So same, because I was a huge No Doubt fan. Yeah.
By the way, it's also funny too that because it's so interesting that you and Gwen have a record about it, we end up naturally downplaying the fact that it's one of the great Dr. Dre productions of all time, potentially.
Definitely, I agree. With Scott Storch, by the way.
Yeah,
Philly.
and Scorch's
on the keys.
On it.
Yeah.
But it's a remarkable sort of moment.
It's a classic banger. I'm not going to be shy about that one. It is. It's one of my personal favorites. And because one, I won a Grammy, but two, it's one of the records that I solely wrote all by myself, which I've written all my records by myself, but there's always some sort of influence.
A hook or this or that.
You know what I'm saying? So like it was literally the one record that Dre was like, I remember this. I wanted to go home because I used to hate writing hooks. It just wasn't my thing because I was a battle rep. So I always blocked it. He was like, no. You can't leave the studio until you write and I was like...
And he's notorious for making people stay. And re-record, and re-record, and re-record, and re-record.
On Satisfaction, bro. Oh my God, Satisfaction. He made me say the word block, I promise you, 20-something times, maybe more. And I did not understand. I was like, what are you saying? And until I said it the way he heard it, I got it. Right. He hears something that you just can't hear. Yeah.
Fast forwarding... from that moment to a more present time, last couple of years, you were supposed to, and I think you talk about it in the book, battle Trina in Verzuz.
We did.
Well, I mean, you did.
Yeah.
But leading into it, you had the revelation that you were pregnant.
Yes.
So was that a reschedule that took place?
So crazy. What happened was, obviously, and I talk about my fertility journey and stuff and how I've been on it, and I just found out I was pregnant. And I was scared to get on the plane. Literally, I was just like, I can't get on the plane. What if I fuck this up? You know, can I say all these?
Yes.
You already did.
I already did. I know, sorry. And Swiss called me and was like, sis, I will send you a jet. You need, and I had to tell him. He was the first person I told that I was pregnant. He was like, as soon as I said it, he said.
How early was it in the pregnancy?
It was very early.
Okay.
It was so early that because all these things that happen as a woman, I was an older woman. I was doing IVF. If I get on the plane, it's long distance. Like I start having all this stuff that I was like, I cannot get on this plane. He said, sis, say no more. We'll figure it out. Literally nothing. That's why Swiss is love you, bro. Like he is just the best. He says, say no more. We'll figure it out. You know, I wish I could have been there. Look so dope where Trina was at the club. My brother was even in there. I wish I could have been there, but I had to do what I needed to do for me in that moment.
Yeah.
I'm also very proud of you for being so open about your fertility journey.
Thank you.
Because so many women suffer in silence.
Yeah.
They're ashamed or they can't afford it.
Yes.
And I don't think people, we even talked about it today, how I don't think people really truly realize how hard it is to go through fertility treatments.
So hard. It's so hard because it's not just the hormones, it's you as a woman feeling like, at least for me, I was broken. Some sort of way, like, because you just are told you're a woman, you have a baby. You get married, you love somebody, you have a baby. And when that doesn't happen, you're like, it's me. And it was, I'm getting emotional thinking about it because I'm like, should I have put all this in there? But I think it's important for women. I honestly do. And I think it was important for me to kind of heal some of the stuff that I was holding on to receive my son. So.
Oh, Eve, you're gonna have me cry.
Sorry, girl. I'm sorry, girl. And I got glitter on, like I can't be crying.
Yeah,
but it is that hard and that heavy and that emotional, like it's rightfully so crying.
It's heavy, like and women go through, and like you said, they suffer in silence, and that's why I was like, you know what, put it in there because we're not alone. You're not alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and at a time now they're trying. It's become a political topic too.
Oh my God. Yes.
They're trying. Women are trying to get support from their jobs.
Yeah.
And my whole thing is, and just as a man and just watching women who have had to go through this, women give their life to careers and jobs in these corporations so that they can show up to work and do whatever they got to do to help try to feed their families and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The least we could do is on the end when they're like, hey, I'm trying to start a family, help them out.
Literally.
Right.
The least
you could do is be like, listen, you've been working on a career path. You've had health insurance for however long.
Take your 6 months.
Something.
Not 6 weeks.
Right.
6 weeks is insane.
But even, they just blocked the bill to try to make it cheaper.
To make it affordable.
Yeah. So that's
Republicans just
a lot of
blocked
people's
it.
insurance plans don't include it, and it's incredibly expensive.
It's horrible.
They're telling us Eve has to rap.
Oh, man.
Oh, sorry, so much more. We didn't even talk about your sitcom.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you for having me, though. And when you get through it, I hope you really enjoy it.
No, it's well written because, and we're biased because our friend Kathy wrote it.
Yeah, because she's the shit.
But it's also very good, and it's also very telling, and it also reminds you just how much greatness you contributed, not only to hip hop, but just entertainment in general.
Thank you.
And I think that is you need your flowers.
Thank you.
Also, look how hot she is on the cover. I mean,
I know. John Russo. Shout out to John Russo.
You know what I'm saying? Putting work
oh, wow. I didn't see the back. I didn't look at the back.
Yeah. Shut up. But also thank you.
That's somebody's mama right there looking like.
Thank you, Eve.
One time. Go get the book. Who's that girl?